elephant, muskrat, giraffe, and mouse. Welcome back to PowerHouse.
Oh gosh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are not currently live. Welcome back, everybody, to PowerHouse Finch Show. I'm Zach Shue. It's the other host,
Dan Turbyville.
Yes, the other host.
I've decided I'm going to start.
What?
Go ahead.
That was it. Thank you for joining us.
I've decided I'm going to start saying my last name.
Cool.
Because I just say I'm Dan, and then I feel
Dan.
like whenever anyone sees Dan Turbyville, they maybe don't associate that with who I am, and so
Yeah, man, a lot of Dans. There aren't as many Zachs currently in my life, but at one time there were lots, and so I've gone by Zach Shue for most of my life.
Yeah,
my friends and my close friends call me Zach Shue.
Yeah,
I guess a lot of people here call me Shue for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So welcome, guys. This, as I mentioned, this show is pre-recorded. We've got some stuff going on. Actually, we have a guest today that we couldn't quite get our schedules to line up. So that's the purpose of this recording. And we have an agenda here that I'm trying to read.
Oh.
Yeah, so this show is brought to you by Memphis Fence Company, MFC Manufacturing in Sao Paulo. Also, we partner with Thornton Fence Consulting Group.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Tell them about that Super Summit,
did
Dan
you know
Turbyville?
That the Thornton Fence Consulting Group now has a Super Summit in Schenectady. So that's going to be called the Schenectady Super Summit.
Schenectady Super Summit.
Yep.
Tell them what they've won. When can we expect to see this thing popping off?
Oh man, it's going to be August 7th and 8th. And so if you're in the Northeast, make sure you get there. It's going to be good stuff.
Cool.
There should be a link in the description below for Tony's event schedule.
Again, that's Dan. I'm Zach. We are here. We are not currently live. Pre-recorded show.
Did we ever figure out what it was? If we were, what's the word that you would use if you're not live?
Not live.
That's right. Pre-recorded.
That's not that exciting.
I know.
Pre-recorded.
All right. So, man, we last week we kind of came on here and hung out and like almost complained about stuff going on. It wasn't really complaining, just letting you know, like we're a part of it too, right?
We did introduce some of the stuff. We talked about the kind of behind the scenes of our recent council meeting.
Yeah.
Which is not quite a board, but I'll settle for council.
Yeah.
It's cool. There's a bit of organization. So there were some things we wanted to do. We talked about adjusting our overhead or just kind of peeking into it, stirring that around. We talked about some marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of marketing.
So we decided to increase our overhead, and we have hired Sam Natello with .com to help us out with our website and doing some SEO and other organic kind of search results. We also now are spending money on Google ads, which we've not done in like the past 2.5, 3 years, something like that.
So and ultimately this is, yes, increasing overhead, but ultimately with the agenda of increasing sales.
That's right.
Instead of reducing overhead, increase sales.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last time, but I care way more about looking at revenue and finding revenue than I do trying to shim off $100 a month on overhead.
For no scented trash bags, Donnie.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So I haven't really been reading or listening to anything exciting recently.
Me, it's the same stuff. I just shared with you a little bit of the excerpt of what I listened to today. It's the same thing. So
yeah, I was on the Mondays with Matt deal yesterday.
Cool.
And I think some people were talking about him and Robert Whitaker were talking about a book called From Good to Great or something like that. So I might check it out.
Okay.
Toyota Way, man. I mean, it's useful stuff in there, but it's tough. Like I'm just not at that level where I can really pay attention to it, to be honest.
It's pretty heavy.
Yeah. I told you a couple weeks ago I listened to a bit of it, but the Founders podcast is so good. I just been
still
stuck
doing
there.
that. And I'm still doing the Ram Dass thing.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
So every once in a while we talk about, where people are listening, right?
Yeah.
And so today I was looking at it and I was like, holy cow, someone in Moscow is listening to our show. That's
Moscow,
crazy.
Tennessee?
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah. No, actually, Moscow in Russia.
Moscow, Tennessee is cool, though.
Is it?
It's where the Ghost River, you put in for the Ghost River, which I think it's called the Ghost because it like disappears, goes underground or something.
It turns
like
into the
comes
Wolf
out of
River.
ground. It does as a tributary feeds, but I think upstream like comes out of the ground. It's pretty cool. But yeah, Moscow, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. So I figured I'd stick that in here. Interesting little tidbit.
And before we go any further, let's take this time to spend some time recognizing and appreciating our listeners.
We do
A
indeed.
moment of silence.
How about a moment of applause?
Yeah,
How about
that's
that?
good. Thank you, listeners. Thank you,
Yay.
listeners. We couldn't do it without you.
We wouldn't do it without you
We
because
w-
there would be
well-
no point.
Except we did do it without you until you were you, and then now you're you, and we do it for you.
Then everything is this.
We didn't have
Okay.
any. We didn't have any listeners our first show, so to effect, we did it without them.
We did it. Yeah.
I think we just said either way. Thank
Anyways,
you.
moving on.
Thank you.
So if you want to hear us talk about something, let us know. If you got any suggestions for topics or guests or anything like that, we are willing to listen.
On one of the last shows, Brian T. Fredrickson, now of the My Fence Life podcast, suggested we do a show on like a crash course in knowing your numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that's highly beneficial for people new to the business or new to business, or I mean, it applies really, I think, across the board, just some
Yeah.
kind of base level financial info.
I think even people that have been doing it for 5 or 10 years that have just never taken that step.
Right. Or if you're not a business owner, and
Right.
you run a family, it's kind of function. We kind of talk about our household like a small business.
Yep.
A
Yeah. So
family business, you know.
it's definitely important. We've talked about it, the importance of knowing your numbers, and we kind of touched a little bit on how to like kind of get started.
But the question is, how?
What do we
If
do?
I don't know and I don't know what that means, give me some practical tools to apply. So I think we should do that. So
We are. We're
Yeah.
going to do it. We're going to do
sounds
it.
good.
So we've been talking about doing this like 4-week. Actually, before we go there, we will be at the West Coast Fence Show, booth 5, 16, and 18, maybe in Reno, September 5th through 7th. And then we'll be at the Thornton Fence Business Conference in December,
Right.
which I
Some
think
of us.
we'll be at Shangri-La in Oklahoma again. Super cool time. Yeah. I don't know who all's going or whatever, but we will be represented there. How about
That's
that?
right.
So we've talked about doing this like 4-week course on reading blueprints and stuff. So since our last episode, I've spent some time kind of looking into ways to like build a curriculum, and I want to use a platform that like anyone who attends the class would have access to, and that way I'd like to put like quizzes and a test in it, and maybe issue some kind of certificate at the end. I think that would be kind of cool. And so I'm still trying to kind of work through that, and it's going to take some effort and some energy, and maybe sometime in the fall or winter we can actually have the class. I think winter would be great. A lot of people are a little slower, have a little more free time in the winter, so be on the lookout for that.
All right. In this segment, we would like to propose the question, how did Simpalo help you with your work this week? And I think that question goes to Dan Turbyville of Simpalo.
This one's for you, Mr. Dan Wheeler. This one's for you. So Saturday, I was at home and I had this job that I needed to bid, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And all I did was walk to my computer and turn it on and go to Simpalo, and there it was. Like the plans, the specs, everything for the job was just sitting there. And so, it's pretty convenient to just have stuff in a easily accessible cloud-based location.
Yeah, I often try to look at stuff from home, and I have to log into OneDrive from my house, which doesn't function the same as it does on my computer here.
Yeah.
So it's like the web-based version.
Yeah.
And then it's cumbersome.
Yeah.
I'll say
Yeah.
clunky. And obviously I don't mind. If I need to do it, that's what I do. But yeah, the ability to store your files, even I store the copies of the quotes for the material.
Mm-hmm.
I store a screenshot of subcontractors' commitment for price if that's how we're going to quote the labor. It's all right there.
Yep.
So that handy package. I actually, this past week, I've started to use the estimate function.
Yeah.
I don't want to mislead you and think that this is going to do any kind of the work for you. It basically is a calculator that will add up the material. But if you know your labor cost and your markup or overhead or
margin,
right,
you got to be
it does
specific
say,
about
my
this word.
apologies. It is the margin. You put the margin in. So, but these things you want to add, and I've been using it instead of opening up a random Excel spreadsheet and doing it all in some weird random Excel land. So
Yep.
it's been helping me with that.
Yep. And so to contrast that, I had another job that I needed to get done as well. And this job was done using not Simpalo. And I had paper that went along with that job. And because that paper was sitting in my office, I was not able to bid that job at home. And I had to wait until I think like 5 or 6 o'clock on Monday evening before I actually got it done. So,
Right.
you know,
If you did want to work off a markup, you could turn off the margin and then add markup as a line item. If by chance that's how you want to do things. Just saying.
Yep. You can do a lot of stuff. So
you could do a lot. That's right.
All right. So now, the moment everyone has been waiting for, everyone in the
You've
world,
all been waiting for. Step right up.
tool time.
Tool time with Dan the Toolman Turbyville.
So we've talked about like skid steers, compact track loaders, all of that stuff in the past, but right now I got a text yesterday that the local Caterpillar dealership has a 265 compact track loader that they are expecting to receive, and they're going to bring it over for us to demo.
Shut your mouth.
Yep.
This is the first I'm hearing of this.
Yep.
I'm so excited.
Yep. So I'm not exactly sure what day it's going to be, but they are going to bring this Cat 265 over, and we're going to get to check it out and
That's
see.
cool.
See what
This
we
is
think.
would you say the name of it again? The Cat 265?
Yep. Compact track loader. It's a
Oh.
track skid steer.
Not the skid.
No. That's
Dang
a
it.
JCB.
I want to see this thing.
Well, we have no local JCB dealer anymore. And
Yeah,
so
bummer.
the closest one's like 2.5 hours. And I was like, nope, they're all going to break. I'm not
Still,
taking
we
it 2.5 hours
we should
away.
get some content while it's here.
I think that's a good idea. I think we
Yeah,
will.
let's do that.
I think we'll maybe make a video and just show you what we like and don't like about it.
Cool.
So,
all righty, everybody. Now is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Right. I jumped the gun on that one.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for. Our very special guest. The reason we would take time out of our regular schedule to sit down here and record for you in order to get our schedules to line up. A guy I met personally in Nashville at FinStech for the first time. Super nice guy. Ilaria, please, some introduction music. Everybody, welcome Craig Eubanks to the show.
What's happening, Craig?
Hey,
What's
man.
going on?
So thanks for joining us. Good to have you here. We always appreciate when folks will take time out of their day to sit down and chat with us for a little bit. So thank you very much
Yeah.
for doing that, sir.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Did you get the package? We sent you a package after FinStech.
Yes, I
can't
did.
remember what I was in there. I was trying to
I
remember.
forgot about that.
I think I got a
Long time.
beanie, long sleeve, and a short sleeve, I believe.
Sick.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
You
Zach
didn't get yours
was-
yet? I sent one to you.
What?
No,
I don't think so.
I have to check customs and see what's going on with it.
Right. Oh, whoa. I don't know if I want that package, Craig.
Yeah.
Coming from overseas.
Yeah. Who knows what that might be?
That's cool, man. How you doing?
Good. Can't complain up here other than raining every other day.
Yeah.
And you're in Indianapolis, is that right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we've been experiencing a little bit of that rain ourselves here recently. And it's crazy, man. I got home yesterday and my whole yard, like on the way home, I could see that the roads had flooded. And there was like debris all in the road and everything. And it never even rained here, I don't think. But apparently it came a downpour at my house. My pool's like an inch from overflowing. And I mean, it was crazy. So
Yeah,
it's
it always scares the new guys because then they dig holes and there's water already in the bottom of the hole and they're like, I think I hit something. I'm like, no, it's just really wet. So
That's right.
yeah, that's always fun to deal
I
with.
just tell them to stick their hand down in there and figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
See if you can
Don't
find
do
a
it.
hole. Just stick your finger in it if
Right.
it is leaking.
Well, Craig, you have joined us at a very opportune time for you, my friend. Now is a segment of the show we like to call Italian Word of the Week, hosted by Ilaria Pisoni.
So the word for this week is entrepreneur, a word I can barely say in English. So let's try it in Italian.
Same. Imprenditore.
Oh, geez.
Should I go first? Because I'm going to kill it. Imprenditore.
Slay.
Imprenditore.
Oh my God, good job.
Ah.
Imprenditore.
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Look at us. We can go to Italy now.
Yeah, with the big words.
All right. So let's get serious.
Let's get
All
serious.
right, all right.
So this is Craig Eubanks joining us of Eubanks Fencing.
Mhm.
I guess first question is, how long has Eubanks Fencing been in business? Did you start it? When did you start it?
Yeah, so we started actually June of 18. So this month in 18.
Nice.
It was originally we started with me and my cousin. And then I actually bought him out about a year and a half ago now. So
Cool.
he's off doing his own thing. And
Still doing fence? The cousin?
yeah, we because I was a sheriff and then I resigned from that. And then I started running youth basketball tournaments. And then he was like, "Hey man, we used to build fence all the time. Do you want to get back into it?" And I was like, "Sure." So then we did.
Cool.
Yeah.
So is your cousin still building fence?
He is not. He actually lives down in Texas, right by Robert Whitaker, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and he's an HVAC or something now.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you did it when you were younger, just kind of like as a little side hustle type thing?
Yeah, actually, so I had two uncles that were in it, and they had been doing it for years. So like middle school, high school, I'd work summers and stuff with them. And then when I was older, I got out of it obviously and started a different path. And then I was like, well, I know how to do it. And then so yeah, we kind of started doing it.
Cool. So y'all are about to celebrate 6 years as a business.
Yeah.
Cool.
Actually, here
Congratulations,
in about 2 weeks.
Well, happy anniversary.
Yeah,
You
thanks.
got anything planned for you guys or your employees? Are y'all going to do anything special or just work extra hard that day?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even think about it until you just asked me that question. I was like, "Dang, we are right on there."
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we might
So
do a cake or something.
I always do that. And I just like cruise right by the anniversary of me buying Memphis Fence. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That was like 3 weeks ago or something. And then I go, what was the day? I don't know, And so it's never really been anything that I've celebrated, but it is kind of cool to think about sometimes,
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you kind of went down a different path before you came back and started your fence company. So what was this different path?
So I was in law enforcement, obviously, and not obviously, but yes, I was in law enforcement. Did that for 6.5 years, and then the world's pretty crazy. So I was like, man, I'm tired of worrying about getting shot at. So I decided to. That's when I started my basketball company. Started doing that, and then I've been doing that for probably 10, 11 years. So
Cool. My last night, my wife suggested I be a police officer. I was trying to figure out who left the cereal box on the kitchen counter, and who was it who used the kitchen dining room chair in the kitchen to access the top shelves. And so, are those qualities you think would be good of a person in law enforcement? Do I have a future?
yeah, I think so. I think you could start on like the first 48 or something and be able to solve everything.
What's this chair doing in the kitchen? Aha!
Sorry,
He said, you
Zach,
should have been a police officer.
but no, that gives you 0 qualifications. You have to just stay here and do
Well,
fence.
and to which I responded, I wanted to be a police officer about 9 years ago. I was excited about it, and she didn't want me to because she was afraid I'd get shot. But I guess she obviously didn't care in that moment. She thought, oh, well.
Now she's kind of
fine.
like, wait a minute. What's some high risk jobs I can convince him to get?
Didn't you want to be a police officer? Yeah, go do that and quit inspecting the dishes or whatever you're doing.
Just make sure you pay the life insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
Sports management. You talked about coaching, or is it coaching? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So yes, I coach. I've been coaching for probably, I think me and my wife just added up. It was 21 years now that I've been coaching. So pretty much right when I graduated high school, I got right into coaching.
That's cool.
And then to kind of, I mean, it's kind of crazy how it all worked out, I guess. But yes, and then I started. So I run a league. I don't know if you've heard of AAU basketball, travel basketball, but so I run tournaments for those kids that go around and play all over the country, really.
That's
So,
cool, man.
So
yeah.
do you run the tournaments across the country or just there locally?
No, so I run them everywhere in Indiana, but this past weekend we had teams come down from Canada and played in our tournament. So
Oh wow, that's cool.
yeah,
Cool.
So I
Been a
too
lot of
am
fun.
I too am a veteran of coaching children.
yeah,
I coached my kid's soccer team when he was 5 years old for
Nice.
one season.
Right.
And
nice.
at the end of this, it was at our church, and at the end of the season, I told the director of the youth athletics stuff. I said, "Well, I can say that it didn't suck as bad as I thought it was going to." And so the next year came around, and of course they called me, and I was like, no, I think I've experienced that, and I'm going to move on to something else now."
Yeah,
Craig has made a lifetime career out of it.
I know.
It's pretty awesome.
yeah. Now I don't do soccer. My youngest son plays it, and I love going and watching because I know nothing about it. So I'm like,
Mhm.
this is awesome. Like, I don't know any of the rules, so I'm not like, hey, you should do this or that. So I'm just like, sit back and just be a dad.
Well,
Cool.
hey, I also didn't know any of the rules, and I was a coach, so that's good.
It works.
But when they're 5, it's like, all right, try to get the ball in the goal and
Yeah.
stay in this field. Don't go to the
Yeah.
next field. And
Quit
that's
playing with
like,
flowers and dandelions.
yeah.
Right. So you
Yeah.
mentioned your cousin kind of came up with the idea or approached
Mhm.
you with, "Hey man, let's build some fence." It sounded like as a sheriff, also coaching, you had a pretty busy life going on already. Was there something more that was like, "Yes, I have to start a company"? I mean, or was your wife not like, that's you're crazy?
Yeah.
All
She
those
still,
things?
she still thinks I'm crazy because we I have 4 kids, so we're all over the place with sports and things. 2 of them are in high school. Then I have a 6th grader and a now 4th grader. So it's like, I mean, we're all over the place. And then back then, she knew that I was looking to get out of law enforcement because obviously the way that the world was going and stuff, it would just been better for our family. And
Sure.
so and then it was like, man, what should we do? And then my cousin was always, calling me saying all these ideas. Hey, we should do this. We should do this. And then he was like, we should do fence. And I was like, hey, I know that. So yeah, because he was all in like, we should do some food trucks and have a couple of them out and stuff. I was like, no. I was like, I can't do food trucks because I'll be eating all the profit. So I was like, nah, I can't do that.
Right.
So yeah.
What about a beauty salon? No, not that one.
Mhm.
Okay. What about
Yeah.
an underground gambling ring? Did I
Yeah.
mention I'm in law enforcement?
Yes.
Probably not a
Do you
good
have any
idea.
do you have any like super crazy? What's the craziest one? You could lie about this too. It's totally cool. What was
Craziest what?
the craziest business scheme your cousin approached you with? And feel free to lie. Feel free to lie.
Well, I'll just say this. He was in the Navy and he was stationed in Saudi Arabia. So he was an air traffic controller over there. So
Yeah.
he was always coming up with some crazy stuff because over there was some crazy things going on. I was like,
Right.
dude, I don't think we can do that over here.
Hence the package coming from overseas.
Right.
Am I right?
Exactly. Which is
So-
funny enough because now that I'm in basketball, we had bags. All my uniforms get made from Pakistan. And my book bags got stuck in New York in customs because they're like, whoa, what's this? So they wanted me to get it was like 70 something power of attorney forms filled out to get every single bag released to the parent. And I was
Good
like,
grief.
yeah, we're not doing that. So we
Just
shipped
get
them
some
back.
other bags. Yeah.
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 That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I've got a brother-in-law that works in like medical machining, makes like hip implants and all of this stuff.
Mhm.
And so they bought a machine that was in like, I don't know, maybe they bought it from Japan or Germany or something like that. And it was like, it went into customs. I don't know if it was in the US or if it was like the outgoing customs in the other country, but he said they got a phone call and it was like, oh, hey, we have this machine sitting here. How much did it cost? And so they had to tell him how much it cost. And this person's like, all right, you got to pay us $25,000. And they're like, what? And so they had like done their due diligence on the front end, but it was some kind of deal where, I mean, he told the story. I don't know if it was exaggerated or what, but he kind of made it seem like it was just like, they bullied him and kind of like held it hostage and got like an extra 25 grand out of them or something to let the machine go either leave their country or come in here or something. It was wild.
It might be
Yeah, that's
coming
crazy.
here because that happened to me when I was in Italy and I ordered something and it was a t-shirt and it was like $40 and then a custom in Italy, I had to pay 60 for a
What?
t-shirt. And I was like,
Wow. For a Taylor Swift t-shirt.
it wasn't even Taylor Swift.
Hilary loved Taylor Swift.
Uh,
That's
People
why she
spend more
came
than
to the United
$50 on
States. Isn't
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
She
Yeah.
came to the US for Taylor Swift.
So what, I guess kind of what was your experience like starting your fence business in 2018? And then what do you think that would be like today?
So when we first started, it was very slow and it was very different because so my cousin was actually handling all the calls. So then, but he's over in Saudi Arabia, which obviously are on a completely different time schedule.
Whoa,
So
that's
then,
crazy.
yeah, so he was like answering calls at like, 2, 3 in the morning there. And it's like, whatever, it's like 4 or 5 o'clock. I can't remember exactly. But so like he was having to stay up a lot, which is kind of scary because he was like sleeping while he was supposed to be working his job.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Uh-huh.
dude, you're an air traffic controller. so yeah. So it was different. And honestly, when we first started, man, we didn't do much of anything with any advertisement, like with social media. We didn't know much about it. And we just kind of went off word of mouth because I knew a lot of people through the basketball scene. And then so we kind of used those connections to get things rolling.
So how
yeah.
did that work? Did you just like start calling people and you're like, hey, we do fence now? Or did you like send out a mass email to them?
No. So honestly, what I would do is I would bring business cards to my tournaments and sit them at the admissions table. And then
Nice.
I'd wear like a Eubanks fencing shirt. And then
Yeah.
people are like, what's that, man? And I'm like, oh, I didn't tell you. I got a fence company. So, and then we would do that and stuff. So yeah, kind of, I mean, it worked out obviously because now we're doing much better, but
All right. So
it
did
was
you
great.
did you quit the job at the sheriff department before
Yeah.
you started the fence company?
Yeah. So officially, yes. Yeah.
So you were all in at the fence company. So like, how long did it take you to kind of get some traction or get some momentum going with it?
We actually probably didn't really get a ton of momentum until I bought out my cousin.
Mm.
And then that's when we really started getting it. Because just to be honest, I mean, I think our best year before I had bought him out was only like 400,000 for the year.
Right.
And it was like, and I was that's where we kind of were. I was at the point was I was either going to get out of it or I was going to buy him out. And he was like, well, I want to get out of it. So then I was like, all right. So then we did that. And then things have went crazy since then.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So one of you two were going.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to be him. So he was in Saudi Arabia the whole time?
No, so he ended up so it's kind of weird. He got stuck in Paris on vacation during COVID. So which isn't a horrible place to get stuck, but he met his family there, and then from there he ended up flying back to Texas where she lives, his wife, and he ended up staying back during COVID. So then he never really went back to Saudi Arabia. So yeah.
Wow.
That's still, I'm kind of just hung up on the thing of him answering the phone, at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and then getting up at 6 to go direct planes that are full of people, cargo, whatever, in and out of airports and like sleeping an hour and a half a night. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty messed up one day. He's like, dude, sorry, it's been crazy busy. We had 2 helicopters run into each other. And I was like, oh my gosh. And
Yeah, I nodded
I was
off
like,
for
was it
while.
you?
Right.
But, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And I made a sale. I made a fence sale.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to repair. So we're good.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was very interesting at first. Yeah.
So what's your what's your ratio now of like commercial or residential sales
So we're probably 40 to 45% commercial, and then probably obviously the rest residential. So we have a nice contract here with the big energy company for our commercial stuff. So it's
Yeah, I
it's a
think you
lot
told
of,
me about that at Fence Tech. That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah. We've been blessed to have that deal because it's a lot of T&M. So then they're just like, go do it. And then you send them a price and they don't even bat an eye. And I'm like, okay. So
Yeah, those are the cool things that we've never quite yet found, I don't think. So
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
So you're doing like 40 or 45% commercial, and is the majority of that all for the energy company, I think you said?
Yeah. 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 They're the gas and water company here in Indianapolis and surrounding areas. So,
Okay.
But yeah, that's a majority. We do some other ones. Like I don't want to say like they're big time companies or anything, but smaller commercial projects. But yeah.
So most of your stuff is all kind of more in like I don't know, does it fall, you think, in like a general contractor type of workflow, or more just like a business to business type of thing? Are you getting plans and specs and kind of going through that and then doing like monthly billing? Okay, so no, you're just like meeting them on site and they say put a fence here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they're like, send us the bill. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's literally like all they say is, hey, we want 7 foot plus one. And then we're like, all right, where do you want it? This is how many gates we want. We want a cantilever here, whatever. And then it's kind of almost like residential in a sense, because their company's huge. So I'll meet a guy out there and he's like, yeah, this is what we want. And then I draw it up and then I send him the bid and he's like, it got approved. Let's go. And then that's it.
Yes. So that's kind of the process in like what I call our business to business, like commercial division.
Yeah.
Where we go out, we meet them on site, draw it up, send them a proposal, and they say yeah or no, or they ignore us from now on, like any of those things. You know how it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you run any kind of like estimating CRM software? And do you use the same software package for both of your residential and your commercial world?
So no. So residential, we strictly use Contractor Accelerator. So we use that program, and it's been great for us. I know a lot of people are on the Job Nimbus train and stuff and love it. And there are some cool features that it does that Contractor doesn't do. But I picked Contractor because they're smaller business, and I felt like they'd be able to take care of me. And so then, we use that for all of our residential, but like my commercial stuff with them, I just go out there and I'll text them like, hey, this is how much the price is. And then I just send them over a QuickBooks, like quick little, this many sections and blah, blah, blah. They're like, oh.
Yeah. So you're like building an estimate in QuickBooks and then sending it out of there. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're using like QuickBooks Online?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So we do some stuff here that QuickBooks Online will not do. And so periodically, like every, I don't know, 3 or 4 years or something like that, like I'll demo QuickBooks Online and be like, okay, can it do this, 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 and this yet? Because man, it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier with Simpalo. Like just having that, accessible everywhere is awesome. I've got a few sets of books on QuickBooks Online. Like I ran my farm through QuickBooks Online and all that. And man, just being able to create an invoice and like have them sign it and pay you and everything right there on your phone or your tablet. I mean, it's cool. Yeah. And so like, you get the desktop version of it and you can't, I don't want to say you can't do it. There may be some way to do some like plugins and stuff like that to where it'd work that way. But for us, it's like, oh, you got to call the office and give them a credit card number or mail a check to like give any payment and stuff. So the online deal is cool. So Contractor, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's how Contractor Accelerator. So with them, once someone accepts a bid, then it generates a QuickBooks invoice. So
Yeah.
then you just forward the invoice over, which at first I didn't know I had to forward it. But so then I called Amanda and I'm like, hey, what's going on with this? Like, they're not getting anything. She's like, no, you got to forward it too. And I was like, oh. So yeah.
Yeah, we like Contractor Accelerator. We had Amanda on the show. I guess
Yep.
earlier this year.
Yep.
Yeah, we like them.
Yeah, they're cool, man.
Yeah, they're super cool. I like them.
Every time we go to any event or trade show or anything, I always try to go say hello.
Yeah.
But, all right. So what are you drawing with? Are you using like Notepad and drawing the layouts for your work orders, or kind of what are you doing with that?
So when I go out, because I also do our sales now, we've been through like all the sales guys and stuff like that. And I was like, nah, I'm just going to do it. So
yeah,
I do all of that. And then I draw it up on a notepad and then go back and then Contractor Accelerator, punch it all in there. And then it actually generates a work order. So then you can go in and click it. And then the guys get their own printout that shows, the yard, customer, address, all that stuff. So, yeah.
Contractor Accelerator doesn't have like a drawing platform though.
No, it does. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
But I don't use it like when I'm at the customer's house.
Sure,
I wait
sure.
until I go
Yeah,
back to the office.
That's similar to our process too. We basically go out and do like a rough hand sketch that's like only, decipherable by the guy who drew it. And then he comes back and we'll digitize and make it more presentable so that we can extend a layout of the job to the customer,
So I really want to put that person on ArcSite and just use the like ArcSite drawing tools. And that way, while they're out there in the field, they can just draw the layout. And it's because, man, he comes back here and like just having to like redraw it again, the time that you're spending drawing it twice and stuff. And so we were talking about that the other day, trying to, get a couple of users on like some of the lower end ArcSite stuff that just has the drawing and being able to use that out in the field. So
I used just the Apple measurement app the other day.
Yeah.
Screenshotted the measurements and was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, but if you're doing, 1,000-foot job, like that's going to be.
This was it was like 300 feet.
Yeah.
Residential wood job,
Yeah. Yeah, it works. It's cool. But I mean, once you get to like a certain size project, it's kind of a pain in the butt.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, so your process is probably fairly similar between like residential and the commercial stuff that you're doing then, right?
Yeah. The only difference is with the commercial, I'm not really doing the drawings or anything. So we still use the sketch pad. So I don't put none of that stuff into Contractor Accelerator. It just goes straight to QuickBooks because they were citizens with, the company was already there. So in QuickBooks. So it was like, I don't want to mess them up because some of those guys have been there for 40 years and they're like, what is this technology that you're using? I don't understand it. And I'm like, all right, slow down. So I just do the old school method for them and then keep them happy. So,
yeah. So we like to ask a lot of these kind of questions about like your process and everything, because for the entire time I've owned Memphis Fence, I've been on like a constant journey to try to improve and evolve our own process. And it's really cool to hear what other people do and try to, just pick up little tidbits here and there from what other fence guys are doing that we might be able to use in our own business. So,
and the show, that's kind of the purpose of the show, is collectively share our knowledge in hopes that maybe this conversation we're having would, help someone new in the business or not new in the business who's just looking for another way that they haven't thought of yet.
Oh yeah, right. That's a good point. There are other people listening that are kind of in the same boat as us.
Right.
Like, how can we be better?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I've really come to appreciate about going to specifically the AFA stuff, is that like, coming together to kind of talk about the trade and the way we're not just the trade itself, the craft of installing fence and building fence, but also like the method of running the business and improving customer service and obviously company culture and those types of things. And that's really been cool. I think the podcast has really helped us kind of push that forward too, or spearhead that a little bit further. There are some other people doing podcasts that are kind of on the same tip. And so it's cool to collectively get in that and, stir the pot some and hopefully kind of
Yeah.
elevate the craft, trade, customer service, techniques, all that,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So,
well, we personally have experienced like a lower than usual call volume these past couple months, and we're just some people we've talked to agree, and they're having the same kind of thing. Also, I've quoted a ton and not really closed much. I think I got one business to business that's a strong maybe. And I'm working the shit out of that one. But, so is that the experience that
Yeah.
you're having as well?
Not made for kids.
explicit.
So I'll say this, and obviously I've talked to you guys outside of this, so I'm not a very cocky guy. I'm a pretty laid back guy and stuff, but so we've been very blessed, and I wouldn't say things for us have slowed down, because I've had my office manager build in days to where we don't do any estimates, because we're like so booked up that I want it, because I love to build fence too. So I go out with the guys and I still build and everything. And especially when we get behind, it's just an extra hand out there to get caught up. But we've been blessed to be able to keep getting phone calls every day and people checking out our website. And then the one bad thing too is that people are always like, hey, is a guy from social media coming out here to our house? So that's like, So then, yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah, that's cool though. I mean, that's the point of doing it, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So what's your closing rate done? Has it stayed pretty much the same here recently, or?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty consistent, I guess. But I would say here recently, we've been selling jobs without even having to go out there, because people, especially the township that I personally live in, I get blasted on there when they ask on Facebook, and they're like, what fence company should I use? And 15 people say Eubanks fencing. And then some lady called and was like, hey, you got recommended this many times. This is what I have. And I'm like, yeah, well, this is the price. And she's like, okay, can I go ahead and get on the schedule? And I'm like, okay, awesome.
Nice.
So
Yeah, that's cool.
those are the best.
Yeah. So are you using My Salesman?
No. We
No.
were with My Salesman twice, actually. Once when we first started, roughly, and then once when I bought out my cousin. But it just wasn't getting a ton of traffic. And also at that time, I didn't have the people that are doing my website. I didn't have them at that time. So it would probably do a lot different now.
So I think My Salesman's great, right? And they don't pay us to say that or anything. Like, I'm just sharing our
Right.
experience.
Contractor Accelerator either, by the way.
Right.
Weird.
Yeah.
Maybe
So,
they should.
we do have the sponsors listed on the top of the screen if you want to know who the sponsors are, right?
Right.
But, so My Salesman, like I said, I really think it's great, but in our experience, the way that we had to use it was we had a person in the office that would do the layout while the person was on the phone, right? So the customer would call in and Bob would answer the phone, and Bob would walk through that entire process with the customer on the phone and kind of like draw out the fence in their backyard and put the gates in and all of that stuff. And, we captured their contact information at the front of it. So when we completed it and it sent the reports, it would send it to them the same way it would, if they had filled it out themselves. But what we experienced was people would like draw zigzag lines out in the middle of the ocean. And I'm like, man, we're in Memphis. How do you even get to the ocean? But, they would just have like random zigzag lines all over the place. And like, it seemed like some people nailed it. Don't get me wrong. There was people out there that could just hop on there and do it. But there also was a decent bit of people that really struggled with, drawing a fence around their backyard. And so that was kind of the way we had it. And in fact, today, that's the way that we still use it when we do.
Yeah, because when people do it on their phone, it's much harder to draw. It's real sensitive and stuff. But
Yeah.
because not too many people are on a computer or a laptop,
Right.
everyone's always on their phone. So
Yeah.
maybe it's gotten better since then, but I'm not sure. So
I don't know. I think I tried to use it on my phone one time and I was like, no, this is not the way. Like it does work, but it's not
Yeah.
quite as nice as, having a mouse that you can point around and click where you want to click. So
yeah, much
So,
easier.
so I guess based on your answers to the last two questions, your backlog has been pretty much the same or better than in previous years.
Yeah, it's been fantastic for us, to be honest. I mean, we had the first year we had 56% growth, and then this year we're probably going to have about the same. So
let me think how to ask this question in a way that's not weird.
Right.
I was gonna say, do you ever run out of money with 56% growth? But there's got to be a better way to ask that question, right?
Yeah.
So how does your do you ever get to that point where you're like, oh man, we need to collect from some of these folks, or do y'all like get a check on the day you're done, or kind of how does?
So, I mean, we run into those things too, because obviously with growth, we're buying a bunch of tools, we're buying new trucks and getting things wrapped and buying more gear. And so then, we run out of money too. But luckily, my good friends over at Purple Coaching take care of me and help me with those things that when things get stressful, they're like, hey, hold on, let's do this. And then, they've been great over there.
Yeah,
Cool,
man. It's easy to freak out and be like, oh no, where'd the money go? And then you look at your receivables and you're like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
And you look at your inventory. And so, I mean, you can find it, right? It just, it's hard to pay the bills with receivables or with a truck or a vinyl wrap or something like that too. So, but so kind of our experience, we get on a few of these big jobs and like you just start shelling out money, right? And material and labor and everything on the front end of it. And then you sit there and you wait for them to pay, which, normally like those bigger jobs are kind of in the like general contractor world. And so, I mean, it can take a while to get paid. And we're just like, all right, we need somebody to pay the bill. So like we can pay the light bill, come on.
Yeah, that's what stinks for us, because our big commercial contract, they pay very well. And yes, sometimes it's like, man, if they could just speed up a little bit, that'd be great. But usually we don't struggle too much with residential. For the most part, people are, within 5-6 days they pay. So it's not like I've never had to like threaten to put a lien on anybody's house or anything like that. So it's been good.
So, Craig, you know what I've learned about you? You really do have it made, sir.
Yeah.
Man,
did you say your residential customers pay you?
Yeah. 5 or 6 days and never had to like put a lien on anything or any of that.
Yeah.
Man, no, we didn't have a ton in the residential world, but I bet it was at least, 5 jobs a year or something like that. People just wouldn't pay. And I mean, we'd have to send them to collections and like we'd, go down that whole process. And some of them still just never paid. I mean, I remember one job we did and it was like $10,000. And so the lady wouldn't pay the bill. And we went through this whole process and, finally got to the point where it went to collections. And by then she had given the house to her daughter. And so it wasn't even her house anymore. So there was nothing they could put a lien on and like nothing they could do about it. And I was like, golly, Bill. I mean, and I mean, they lived in like a nice part of town in a nice big, I don't know, $500,000-$600,000 house. And like, I mean, it wasn't like you'd pull up there and think that it was the type of people that would, hang you out to dry. But
like, are they going to be able to afford this?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was, that would happen to us. Like I said, probably, 4 or 5 times a year or something like that. But anyway,
because you're mostly commercial, right? Now
that's all we do is commercial. But we did residential up until the end of 2022. And so we did it fairly recently. And now, I mean, we say we just do commercial, but like if residential people call and they kind of push it, we'll tell them like, okay, we have a $15,000 minimum for residential. We don't really have like, salespeople, project managers, installers, anything set up for residential. So, we will do it for like bigger jobs and stuff. A guy sent me a job earlier. It was for an HOA, which is like the worst residential kind of thing, in my opinion. And, now you're not dealing with one residential customer, you're dealing with 8 of them all at the same time. And so, I mean, it was like 1,700 feet of fence. And I was like, yeah, we'll quote it.
So I got a fun HOA story for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So just recently, we did a big HOA fence. It was, I mean, I say big. It was like 970 feet or something like that.
Good size.
Shadow box fence. So then I tell my guys, I'm like, hey, make sure you come in off this entrance, off the main road. It's right there. You can't pass it. They came in off the wrong entrance and tear down 400 feet of the wrong fence.
Nice.
And I was
we
like,
did that one time too.
yeah.
Nice.
I was like,
Yeah.
awesome, guys. And then,
Yeah.
so then my guys are like, well, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, I guess we're going to be building them a new fence. And then they're like, well, they should pay for it. And I'm like, they didn't ask us to tear it down. Like, so what do you mean? Like, we can't have them pay for it. Luckily, there was still like 180 feet left. So they're going to pay for that. And then we just have to eat the bill on the rest of it. So I was
nice.
like, man. So, but yeah.
We did the exact same thing for an HOA one time. And it was like, one of these, it was like a nice neighborhood, but it was kind of smaller lots. And so we were tearing out and replacing the fence in the back of, say, 20 houses. And they went like 4 extra houses down the wrong way or something and tore all their fence out. And yeah, you have to pay the bill, but then you also have those extra homeowners. So these were like back to back. And so it's 8 people whose fence got tore down in the back of their yard and it wasn't supposed to. And so all 8 of them call pissed off.
Yeah.
And so, it's a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said HOAs, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I said HOAs are the worst residential customer, but I shouldn't have said that. I would just like to point out that they're not the worst, right?
Yeah.
So
just in case anybody wants to call you guys, they're not the worst.
Right. Go ahead. You can call us. It's fine.
Yeah.
Cool. So I hear you've been doing recording and airing something called Fence Guy Friday.
Yeah. So actually, Joe Everest, him and I met and we got talking and stuff, and because I wanted to have more of a presence on social media. So then I was like, asked Joe, like, hey man, like, how did you start? Because he's like, one of the top guys and stuff. And it's like, so then he said he started a Fence Guy Friday, and he would just answer questions. And he said his mom was actually his only viewer for like 2 weeks. And he's like, okay, mom, like, let other people ask questions and stuff. So, but then that's why I started it. Cause I was like, man, I felt like I was going to houses, and I mean, and even when you do commercial stuff, like they pretty much ask the same questions. Everybody does. So then I was like, what if I just put that on social media and then say, hey, check out our social media. And then it explains everything. Cause we're big with the no dig stuff. So, I do a couple of job site things where I show people like what we're doing and stuff. And then, so we're going to do that. And then we're going to keep doing the Fence Guy Friday thing for now. I think I might do it like every other Friday, but, cause as you guys know, it's hard to talk about stuff. Cause it's like, what people only want to know so much about fence. And then it's like, how do you keep stuff flowing and going and everything? So, but yeah,
for sure. So it is geared more towards like informing the customer, I guess. So are you like showing material, telling them why, boards are different than other boards? And
yeah, so it's mostly like we get talking about like pre-staining and stuff. And then we talk about like the difference from using treated and a cedar and things. And honestly, I feel like I talk about no dig fencing more than anything, because people are like, how many feet are you going in the ground again? What size post are you using again?
Yeah.
So then it's just like, I'm like, I feel like I should just repeat this thing and put it like on replay and just keep showing them. So, but I mean, it's cool too, because we'll get like it's kind of weird. We'll get like Facebook messages and like, hey, didn't catch the show this week. And I'm like, it's not really a show. It's just like me talking about my fence. But so
I mean, cool. That's
Yeah.
good, man.
If you just scroll down a little bit, like it's in there
Yeah.
somewhere.
yeah,
Right.
it's probably the same topic I was going to talk about. So,
So I have an idea for you.
okay.
So we did the same thing in the residential world, right? You go meet with 6 customers in a day and you tell them all 6 the same thing. And so I just made a drawing, and it was like a standard wood fence, and it had all the specs of everything on there. So it showed them like the footing depth, the size of the footing, the specs of all the material that we were using, and I had like pictures of our gate hardware and the fasteners that we used and all that kind of stuff. It was a little 2-page deal. And that went with every estimate that we did for wood fence. And it was like, yeah, okay, if your fence is cap and trim, like there's going to be a cap and a trim on the top of it, but it's still going to be like all of the same specs and everything. And so might be something worth doing. Just make you, a little like elevation type drawing of the fence that has all the specs and stuff on it. And you could just say, here, check this out. And, maybe they could, they're still going to have conversations about it, right? But at least they have something in their hand that they can look at to kind of understand what you're doing.
Yeah. No, that's
So-
good stuff. Yeah.
I like the Fence Guy Friday, man. That's cool. We talk about how do we inform the customer of the quality that they're getting, because often, they go based on price only. And so that effort to try to give them something more than price to go on, it sounds like your Fence Guy Friday is an effort to do that.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
the document's cool for those of us who can read blueprints and documents, but I mean, Joe Everest's mom probably is not real interested in looking at a PDF of a fence diagram, right? So there's people, certain people view and see and learn things in different ways. I think you standing in a driveway with a bag of sackcrete, or not, because you're no dig, right? So with a post driver and a post and showing how that works, maybe communicate to people who think about it in a different way. You hand me a sheet of paper with a diagram, I'm gonna be like, oh, this is great for me.
Yeah.
I want this, but
yeah, for sure. Do you know about the STAR method? We've talked
yeah,
about
right.
that.
Yeah, we have that. There are star mini customers, types of customers.
So I can't remember I can't remember what it all stood for. What was the S? So
great
T was
job.
technical.
You're killing it.
Yeah, I know.
T's technical. That's the one I am. They like to know more about the technicalities of the thing.
And then R was relationship.
Right.
S, one of them was action. So the A is action.
S was situation.
Situational?
I think the STAR method shouldn't be like situation, task, action, and I don't remember what's the R.
But
So
Was it Julie, right?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't
somewhere there's this STAR method where you identify your customer as they fit into these 4 categories.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't even remember where I heard about this, but the person that I heard talking about it, they basically would decide which of the categories their customer fit in. And they said they would do it while they were walking up to the house. And so they said, if you see a person, structure was the S. S is structure. And so they said, if you see a person whose like shoes are all nicely stacked and the lawn is perfectly manicured and like everything is kind of stuck in its place and all that, they're like, that might be a structure person. And so they kind of just went through and talked about how you can like pick up hints just by looking around their property, and then you cater your sales pitch to them. So like a person who's a relationship person doesn't care about the drawing. They don't care about the wall thickness of the post.
They want you to interact with their dog.
Yep. Yeah.
Like,
and so your sales pitch then is like, oh, your fence is going to help keep your dog safe and keep your dog in the backyard and, keep your grandkids from running out in the street. And like, you can kind of like, build your sales pitch based on their personality type.
I had this acronym on the wall when I first started. You told it to me. I wrote it down. I put it on the wall, and then
never looked at it again.
No, I used it. I thought about it for a while, but it's like some kind of weird psychological approach wherein I think if I'm just like myself all the time, then that maybe does a little bit better than trying to like get out my clipboard and psychoanalyze our customers. You know, it's like, so I get that, but at the same time, it's like, what if I was just like likable and knowledgeable, and maybe I got all the aspects covered? How about that?
Right.
Just star all the time.
You touch on all of them, and then you're going to give them something that they want.
I think that method was readapted from like HR because like I did an interview when I was looking for a job like 2 years ago at FedEx.
Uh-huh.
And when they called me back, they were like, oh, just so you know, you're going to interview with 3 people. And they use the star method.
Ah,
So I think it's
Nice.
from there.
Nice. Yeah, so maybe it is. Maybe that's where you would go to try to find more information on it. But anyways,
keep doing
Yeah.
Fence Guy Fridays.
Yeah. like my idea was not to get rid of the videos, right? It was
Yeah.
just an
No,
idea
yeah.
of some additional ammo.
We got off there for a bit. That's
Yeah,
a good one.
yeah.
That's fun.
That's good.
So I really like the idea. And when I saw it, I was like, you know what? Yesterday we were talking about making some marketing material. And so I like included all of the logos on it. And I was like, man, I think having a podcast and then having an estimating software that we built for the fence industry and all that, like maybe that raises like our expert level a little bit in the eyes of a consumer. And so I thought about taking this show and adding it to where it also streams like on our fence company stuff, because right now it doesn't. And I thought maybe that would kind of like do that same thing where maybe it would like add to our expert level. Although I don't know how appealing any of this content is to, a fence customer, but I mean, if it still is like the perception thing of it, I thought was kind of a cool idea, for us, not for you. Like you're talking to the customer and telling them stuff. But anyways,
Well,
so
I did have Billy Grove on one time to talk about no dig fence because obviously they do it a lot down in Florida. So
mhm.
then I was like, I kind of talked to him. I was like, hey man, like what can you tell my customers here in Indiana? Like how well is it working for you down in Florida with different ground and stuff? Like how's it going against hurricanes? And so he went on and talked about it. And I don't know how many of my customers thought it was interesting or anything, but I was like, it might give them a different view and rather than just hearing it from the same guy that's like trying to push the same company.
Yeah,
So,
sure. Yeah, and
so yeah.
everyone hears Florida and thinks hurricane. So like if the fence holds up there, it's got to be good, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. All right. So I had a few more things. I think we're gonna.
Oh, this one's a little sticky.
This one, you don't like this one?
How you doing on time, man? We're kind of nearing the hour mark, just past.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah.
Minute? Cool.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
good.
So we want to rake you over the coals about being a Simpalo subscriber, but not showing much activity.
Yeah. So actually what I want to do is I just want to extend an offer to you to like, let me know what you need so that you can get in there and use it. All right. So I've added.
Go ahead. You've added what?
I was just going to say, like, there's a bunch, I've added several like how-to videos and I've
Yeah.
added, so to Zach's point about how people learn differently. So there's how-to videos in there. There's also documents that have screenshots that kind of walk you through and show you where I clicked. And also if you want to watch a video, if you want to document, like, I've tried to give people information in a couple of different ways to try to, guide them through it a little bit, but go ahead. So
All right.
I'm excited to hear this answer.
So we honestly,
are you breaking up with us right now?
Yeah.
Is that what's going
I
on?
forgot
I've been seeing another business. No, so basically, just being honest, we've been so overwhelmed with things with work that we haven't really been bidding a ton of which I know that your stuff works with residential stuff because I think me and you actually went through it one time because I thought at first it was just a commercial thing. And then then it worked with regular plot plan and stuff like that. But we just my plan was when I signed on with you was like, man, we're going to hit the commercial world a little bit harder this year. But then I didn't expect residential to take off as much as it did. So then I was like, ah, crap. So,
Sure.
which, we're then, and this is how much it slowed down for other people is that I've had 2 other companies reach out to me wanting to do work for me because they don't have the work. So then, which scares me, but I'm like, well, maybe I'll give them some stuff. And then now I can get into the commercial world more, but that's why nothing crazy. I'm not cheating or anything.
Oh, cool. So, I mean, it really like the whole, like when someone sends you a set of plans or drawings or whatever, and you can upload them and kind of trace. I mean, that's what I made it for. Right. So yeah, it can do other things. Like it can work on residential stuff and it can work on others, but ideally you want to use it when there's like a set of plans and stuff. Cause there's a lot of other CRM features that other softwares have that Simpalo just doesn't have, right? It's kind of a one trick pony. It does the one thing and it does it really well, but it doesn't do as many things as what other stuff does. So, but yeah, I mean, when you got a, 100 sheets of blueprints that you have to dig through and find the fence and, get to a material list and stuff, like that's where it shines. So,
Well, I mean, it's kind of obviously I don't use it a ton or very much at all, as you can tell by my activity. But when people talk about it, I'm like, dude, you should check it out because it's pretty cool. Like, because I remember, obviously you showing me how to use it and stuff. And I was like, dang, man, this is nice. So, especially shooting out like the materials and stuff, I was like, that's awesome. So, it's something that we've needed in the industry and stuff. And it's like, man, so yeah, I'll definitely recommend it more. And then as we continue to grow more, you'll start seeing more user activity.
Well, just know if you need something from me, let me know. I mean, I'm happy to spend as much time as I need to with you or anyone to like get them going in it. So
yeah, I presented that as a roast, but ultimately we just want to be available to help you out if you need some help.
Yeah.
But it also is more fun to be presented as a roast. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I knew when I seen everything, I was like, crap. Gosh, they caught me.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
So what about how's it been with Purple coaching, man? How's that experience been? You mentioned them a little bit earlier.
Yeah, they so I don't know if you guys knew this, but I used to be with the Mr. Fence Academy.
Okay.
So I was with the academy and it was great. I love Sean. James Blaisdell was my coach there. He's an awesome dude. But then it wasn't really geared to like what I was looking for at the time. So then I had reached out to Robert a little bit, and then because I deal with Robert, but I deal more with Michael, his twin. So yeah, it's been great for us, man, because them dudes are like very involved with your business and stuff, and they're all about culture and everything, and they dive into the numbers and stuff too. But yeah, it's been great for me personally to be with them.
That's awesome, man.
Cool. How long you been working with Purple coaching?
I mean, it hasn't even been a year or anything. Maybe 6 months, maybe somewhere around there.
Cool.
So
I talked to Cannon a decent bit, and Cannon works with them too. And
Jackson Fence, right?
Yep. Yeah. Sorry, I forget that people need full information
sometimes.
And so
I know Cameron, so I wasn't too worried about it.
He calls him Cameron.
I'm just kidding. I know Cannon.
And so like just hearing him talk about like some of the stuff that Robert's done with him in regards to, vendors and suppliers and like his team and all of this stuff. I mean, it sounds pretty cool. So
yeah, it is. And to be honest, Cannon and Alex Harris are the two. I talked to both of them. I was like, hey, like, how do you guys like it and stuff? So they both love it and stuff. And Alex is doing great. Cannon's obviously doing great. And I was like, man, I'm going to jump on this and see what it's about. And luckily they had another spot available. So, cause he doesn't take just anybody, cause he wants to be able to focus a lot on your company. Instead of just taking a whole bunch of people. So,
which is also cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, me as a potential consumer in that world, that's what I would want to see. Right.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool, man.
I mean, both of them know, like, they know when I hire people, when I have to let people go, they know all their names. I mean, they email and stuff with some of my team members, just like asking like what's going on and stuff. And I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. Like that they're that involved with everything. So
yeah, I think that was the thing that's like, from what I've heard, that is the most impressive to me about them is how involved they are like in your operations.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
That's what I needed, because I was like, I mean, I was taking over obviously this company by myself, and I was like, gosh, man, like there's a lot. I mean, that happens. And I was like, I need someone else to share this with. And they were like, let's coach you. And it worked out perfect. So no complaints here.
Oh, good deal. So I also noticed on your website that you're a customer of Commander Bunny from
Yeah.
.com. And so, like I said, we just signed up with them too.
Oh, yeah.
So what's that experience been like? Have you seen a positive results from it? Are you happy with it?
I'm very happy with it because so obviously that's why we got rid of my salesman, because I was like, man, we don't really get a ton of traffic on our website. So and then but now, like, because they do all the SEO stuff and all that, but we were getting, they send you like a monthly report of everything, and we were getting, most of our stuff was ranked 100 plus on all keywords. And I was like, dang, man, that's obviously horrible. So, and that was still the year that we had 56% growth.
Wow.
So then we jumped on board with them, and we actually launched the website in December. And now they sent a report and said that this was my April report, that they were surprised how well the website was doing, because now we're like single digits on a lot of keywords now. So
that's awesome.
I was like, man, that's great. And it's funny because other than that one report, like, they just get in there and do work. Like they don't, like, they're not calling me every day, like, what do you want? I mean, I send pictures and things, but they just do their job, and it's been great for us because we get leads all the time on people checking out our website and whatever, doing the little contact us thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely more than we used to get.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And so what I really like about those like website forms is I like when you come in the morning and you got like 3 or 4 of them that happen, at 8:00 last night or whatever. And it's like, oh, cool. That website's doing its job,
Yeah.
So yeah,
Like, that's money well spent.
that's right.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, do you have any, Zach, you got anything?
No, man, I think we covered all my questions.
Craig, you got anything you'd like to,
No. I appreciate you guys having me on. You guys are my first official podcast that I've been on myself. So,
oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to get a little plaque for that or something. So
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might get held up at customs though. You never know.
It definitely will. Yep.
All right, man. Well,
Cool. Well, everybody, Craig Eubanks of Eubanks Fence. Thanks for coming on the show. Not fencing.
right. We changed his name.
Yeah. I won't use that word around you. All right.
I appreciate it. It's okay, man. Other people do it. I get it. So
cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, man. Look forward to seeing you in upcoming AFA events and stuff like that. Appreciate you being on the show. Thanks for everybody who tuned in to listen and watch or whatever. And, we wouldn't do it without you. So thanks a lot.
really appreciate it, man.
Yep.